February 12th, 2015 meeting of the Township of Grand Blanc. I'd like to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like Dr. Ann to lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, I'd appreciate it if you join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. And now I'd ask for a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. And now the floor is open for public comment.
Good evening, Edward, 7212 Border Road. I see we have a revision to one of my concerns here, which I'm glad you've done that. But I'd still like to go through that, so I can skip my first page, really. How's that? So,
Adjust the microphone a little bit, I guess, kind of got a...
is it working?
Yeah, I'll give that a try.
Hello. This isn't part of my 3 minutes testing the microphone.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean,
David.
it'll just be,
That sounds good
sounds
to
good to
me.
me, I can
There
hear
you go.
myself.
That's good.
It's not
Got
bad.
it.
Okay, so we had the old amendment, now I got the new amendment, okay? But I noticed some things are still the same here on this amendment. The item A is, I think, is the same. Any new structure not to include remodel or addition? Does that mean that if my neighbor, or the person down the road, builds a new structure, a pole barn on the back of his property, a shed, he has to hook to municipal water? But that's how it reads. It says new construction. Any new construction, not to include remodel or addition.
Not to include is the key.
That's model in addition. Addition to your property is how I read this. Addition to your house, or remodel your house. But what if we put another structure up? Let me just, I'm just saying that if you could write that different than structure, it wouldn't be confused on the premises, on the parcel. It's just a thought, because someone might confuse that just like I do. A structure could, you can have 5 structures on your property. I mean, when you build a second one, you've got to.
Well, I see what you mean, and in the context of the ordinance, I mean, this is a water connection ordinance. You're not gonna, the only reason I think you would connect potable water to a structure would be if you intend to inhabit that. But we could add language that says any new habitable structure, just to make clear that it's for things that you live in.
Well, I don't plan on doing that, but I was just thinking if my neighbor put up a pole barn and even wanted a bathroom in it.
Well, you may run afoul. I mean, if you are going to be using sewer and or water in a structure, you might need permits. You might have RUs assigned to you.
That's fine, but what if you're on a well? That means you got to disconnect from the well? It's a gray area. I'm just bringing it up, and I don't think I'm going to do
That
it.
is, if you build any new structure,
Okay.
and yes, if that new structure, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, if that new structure is going to have a bathroom or running water in it, then you have to connect to municipal water for that structure. Your house is on a well, it's still on a well, but that new structure must attach if it's going to have portable water in it.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't have
That's
to
the way it
disconnect the
is.
house.
We got that clarified. I just hate to see somebody have to tie everything up.
Right.
Well, I hate, if this is a pole barn, I think we should specify dwelling. on this.
What if I build an office in my backyard?
Yeah, we can put residential structure, we can put inhabitable structure, something like that.
Right, that's what I'm thinking, because,
But I thought the key was, is if I get a bathroom and running water in there, I've got to hook up. Doesn't matter if I if I live there
You
now,
do.
I'm just,
You do?
during the day or whatever, if I've got a bathroom and I've got,
Mhm.
wash my hands in my pole barn, then I've got to hook up to it, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
So it's not really a structure that I'm living in, but I
I
am
think what
using
Jude
it.
is saying is that it's gotta be something you're gonna inhabit, not necessarily.
Well, I know, but that's
wash your
different than what
hands.
it's saying, but it's,
I just picked up that structure, okay, that,
Mhm.
well, now, we should probably get clarification on it now. Because, it was, my impression, I'm assuming that people are not going to, build a duplex in the back of their,
Mhm.
oh, no.
No, you're
But it-
right. Well, let's do that, let's add the language that if it's gonna be inhabited, it has to, it will fall under that requirement.
Right.
If it's not gonna be inhabited, it doesn't.
Mhm.
right, as long as it's for residential use, right?
Residential
Yeah,
use.
you'll see though, in subsection B, I made a distinction between what are typically residential users, which are those with only one RU, and then those with multiple RUs. I didn't want to get into the whole labeling of residential and
Okay.
commercial and industrial. I tried to handle it a different way, but we can make a distinction again, because a commercial structure isn't necessarily a dwelling, but it's occupied. And so I think we can find the right word that means that if you're gonna use the structure in some sort of,
Residential.
well,
You don't have to sleep in it.
I want to cover.
inhabiting a structure is basically what we want to get at.
Yeah.
So that would cover, say I bought a house along Holly Road or Hill Road in the township, and there are several houses that are in an area that's zoned for business. There are older homes probably attached to a well. And I take my two-car garage and I convert that into my attorney's office, because I'm a lawyer. Put a bathroom in there. Do I have to tap in?
If you're gonna require more than 3 RUs, you gotta tap in.
Okay, because that's part of it's covered.
And the magic number with 3 is we took a look at what our inventory is with,
Residential.
well, actually, I think it's just across the board. I don't think it's just limited to residential. We decided that we're trying to, duplexes, we wanted to allow to continue. Small commercial buildings, we want to allow them to continue. But anywhere where you're making a decision about who's going to drink the water, and it's not you, we want you then to have to hook up, if it's available to you, as determined by the building department.
Okay.
So I think your comment is a good one, and I think we can add language too.
okay, I don't plan on doing it, I just can see a problem down the road, structure.
I think it's a good
Well, we're
point.
going to watch you down.
Very good.
Okay, and that's another point I'm gonna bring up. I don't know how much thought's been put into this, okay? Because I've only seen it for a couple of days, and I can see some things that are really happening here. That's like, I was gonna recommend taking item B on here. And if you were interested in the last sentence, item B, about people not being able to disconnect from municipal water if they're on it. But your language seems okay to me, I haven't scrutinized it.
That's how you review it.
So, I guess I will move on. So if I want to build a shed or a garage on the back of my property, no bathroom, no nothing. No problem. Good deal.
You need a building permit.
Ah, I almost got away with that too, 'cause it's right here. Okay. I guess in our last meeting on Tuesday, I heard some comments from someone on the board. And I really wasn't pleased with them, it really got my attention, I got a whole page on it. I don't want to bring this all up and point fingers, but I just like to remind people, the people own this township. The buck stops with them. If someone does something wrong, the people pay. It's not a business out on the market like stockholders. Everyone works for the township. I work for the township, my neighbors, we help each other. But anyhow, I want to bring that up. But the board really should consider very carefully how any amendment or any policy change will affect our community's future. I bring this up because of our growth. Will businesses want to come here? Will they want to stay here? Well, people want to bring their families here. Well, people want to stay here. So, you know, when we start changing ordinances and policies, let's just be aware of what we're doing, because we don't really have a planner. We got a master plan, but we got nobody, you know, if we had a planner, I'd say to the planner, what do you think about this? How will it affect our business? How will it affect you bringing people in from other states to do business here? What will they think about the changes? That's all. Anyhow, think hard and careful before you do that. So I think I'm going to leave that alone. I'm done. I'm happy I can keep my well, and I was very truthful that I do water tests on my well. I do what's right for my family, and I want to take care of them, and I don't want to drink fluorine. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to have?
Yeah, I'd like to give an explanation if I could.
Certainly.
Now, maybe you covered this with Ed, but I didn't hear anything that satisfied me. My name is Paul Mayo. I live on Porter Road for the last 40 years. Had our house built out there a long time ago. On item B, on this well thing, what is the benefit of this last sentence? Structures which are connected to the public water supply shall remain connected. Why would you even have that in there?
You'll actually see that it's amended C. I've taken that last sentence and put it in a separate section. So it's on your next page. The point of that, and I'll give you a great example. Actually, I'll give you a live example. There are allocations of residential equivalency units that go to certain businesses, and it depends on the kind of business that you have as to how many of these units you need. The more units you need, the more water you need, and the more sewer service you need. We have businesses that are high volume users that when the price of water changes or goes up, they want to disconnect from our system and they want to go revert back to their old wells. The problem that we have is all of our system is modeled on the number of users that we have and the number of users that we're gonna have. And it all affects the rates that we charge everybody else. So when we have a high volume user just unilaterally decide to opt out of our system, it throws all of our math out of alignment, it throws our service models out of alignment, and it also causes problems because you have to very carefully monitor how these businesses connect with certain engineering requirements and materials requirements, and then when they disconnect, you have to undo all that. And it's a fairly complicated process, but the main thing is that we can't have wild fluctuations in the requirements of our service and also the allocation of our prices.
The reason I'm requesting an explanation of this is I'm very, very sensitive to too much government. And as far as I'm concerned, to go all the way to the right, this is like stepping on one of my freedoms. If I elected to connect to city water, not city water, but township water, that just was put in across my property 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And then I decided at some later point I want to disconnect. I feel we should have that freedom. So I would caution you guys, let's not be like the EPA, okay? And restrict everybody's freedoms and make us jump through too many hoops, because too much government is bad government. Thank you.
Is your last name spelled M-A-Y-O?
Just like the clinic.
Yes.
Not that I want to get into responding to every comment, but I've got some similar concerns with regard to, property rights and that sort of thing. But, I look at, just as an analogy, I see the state of Texas where there are no zoning laws, and I can build any structure I want on a piece of property. And, there's some benefit to that maybe, and maybe there isn't too. It depends on who moves in next year, I guess, and what they want to build. And I felt similarly, about this issue until I started looking into it a little bit further. Because I went home and started thinking about, maybe I should put in a well, because I've thought about it just for irrigation. I'm like Mr. Ertz here, I like a green lawn, and we water it quite a bit, but looking at the cost of how many people, what people are willing to spend to put in a well, I'm not sure a lot of people are going to do that. So I'm not sure that we're gonna have a mass of people running out to do that, but it could happen. But looking at the system that we have in place, and people already complaining about, the rates that we're charging and that we're getting charged as a township, I can only see those costs going up if we start messing with those models and, we get a larger number of people opting out. So I'm torn by it, but I also see the benefit of us sticking together, so to speak, on the water too, right?
That is the basis that has been used throughout most places in the state. Let's say once you have connected to water, it stays connected. Because they have encountered some problems when they started disconnecting, especially when it comes to business.
I was very surprised that we didn't have it in place already.
It is a county's rule.
We had the language like that was in this ordinance, like one of the earlier versions. And Dennis brings up a good point. Particularly once you have businesses that are connected, is your modeling for sure is based on the amount of service that you have to provide, and then you're trying to take that model and project future demand as well. And so when you upset what you've already got, you kind of exponentially change your model, and it's very complicated. If you have any doubts at all about this ordinance, then if you want to strike paragraph B, please do not strike paragraph C, just because that causes our DPW department a lot of difficulty.
I just have a general comment too, because, we don't want to necessarily get into dialogue, but, with everybody. But one of my concerns last Tuesday was that I wanted the existing people at least to have their rights, because I feel like you, that I don't want rights to be taken away. I zealously try to protect them. There is the notion, though, of the common good. And so we have, like in Texas, you can build an amusement park next to whatever you want. I mean, and they do this. And so maybe that's, I have the right to do that. Maybe that's unfair to Larry, because I am now going to have a dump right next to his house. So, I mean, this is why we have the ordinances, and I get what you're saying. I know when I was on the police department, probably 2009, 2010, maybe 8, we dealt with a guy down in the south part of the township that didn't want to have running water, that didn't want to hook up to the sewer system. I think it was your office that defended that,
Was there a goat tied up to the back of the? Because I remember that.
I know that, right. You know what I'm saying? And so, that made the neighbors uncomfortable. And so, I mean, there's a balancing act. But I agree with you 100% that I want all my rights. I don't want to abdicate any of them if I don't have to, 100%. And I echo your sentiment, but I think we have to also protect the general public in the township. Just throwing it out there. But I do appreciate that.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Yes.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tim Gainey. I've been a resident on Porter Road for 22 years, a resident of Grand Blanc for 65. And just a couple of things I would like to have you clarify. It says a private well that experiences well failure. What are you considering well failure? Are you considering a check valve a well failure? Are you considering a drop pipe a well failure? What is the determination of a well failure? And who is the professional to determine that it is a well failure?
Well, the Johnson County Health Department monitors
Yeah.
and gives, and basically certifies the ability to place a well, not only water quality, but also location. We also, though, in the second clause of that sentence, it says that if you experience well failure, you shall be prohibited from drilling a new well. And when I read that, I would think that would mean that well failure that causes you to abandon a well and drill a new well is a failed well. Anything, though, like a pump, check valve, I think you said, or slip pipe, those things that could all be repairable to an existing well, I would think would be able to be repaired. And we also have, in addition to the Department of Health, we have our DPW director, who is quite knowledgeable about wells and water systems, would weigh in and decide whether that was a failure that required a new well or just repair.
Because I have experienced before in Grand Blanc, some of the older wells, that the only repair they needed was perhaps another length of drop pipe, 20, 30-foot drop pipe, and there was nothing wrong with the well.
We're not considering a repairable well.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, it is.
If you read it, the prelude to that on item 3, that's the same sentence where the dwelling must be 3 REUs or greater, correct?
Yeah.
So if you are in a residential home and you can drill a new well, that's the way I read that, Mr. Matty, or is that not correct?
If you are in, well, you actually could drill a new well if you're in a residential structure that needs less than 3 REUs.
There you go. So for your home, sir, you could put in a new well, regardless of what the repair extension of the old well. And I think, obviously, as long as the water was safe to drink.
Well, and that's where the Department of Health is saying.
That's because you're considered a 1 RU, okay? They're saying you have to be at least an R4.
Okay.
So there's no resident out there that's actually an R4. So every resident in the township is mostly an R1. We've got a few of them out there, about 46 of them that are more. They've got like R2 and
REU.
REU.
Yeah, there are REUs.
Right. So that way, as the resident of your house, if that well breaks, you can fix it as much as you want, as long as it comes out clear water, because you're way below the REU
Healthy
of 3.
water.
Yes.
Potable water.
Not clear water, but, water that's safe to drink.
Okay, thank you, just wanted to clarify. Thank you, Mike.
I'm glad you asked that, it's a good question.
Yeah, that was clear that up, just that inclusion, Mr. Matty.
Right, yeah, we got to have that.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak at public comment? All right. In that case, we will move on to the approval of the minutes for October 6th, October 8th, October 15th, and October 27th. And you may do that individually or as a group.
I'll propose that we approve the minutes as a group.
Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The minutes are approved. The treasurer's report, Mr. Guzzo?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. It's my pleasure to present the monthly bills. The general total is $969,682.24. The DPW total is $1,134,901.82. The solid waste total is $109,914.97. And the campus project fund is $1 million, for a grand total of $3,214,499.03. Move approval as presented, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
Okay, all right, go ahead.
All those in favor? All those opposed? You can pay the bills.
Thank you.
All right. And now, we are coming to the end of the term for members of the Planning Commission and BZA. And so Paul Wagner will be retiring from ZBA. And we will show our appreciation later on, but at this time, Debbie Honey has been working as the alternate in that regard, and she wishes to move up to that spot, and we would put in Jamie Truesdale has asked that he be the alternate. Okay? And those were my appointments.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we approve Debbie Honay as the replacement for Paul Wagner. and Jamie Truesdale as Debbie's replacement as alternate on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Is there a term, expiration of that term?
It won't take place till the end of the term, which is December 31st.
Is there, what's the length of those terms, do you know?
They're 3 years.
3 years, okay, for the term of 3 years, that's my motion.
Thank you.
Does Mark have to be added to that motion? or not?
Yes, Mark.
I will include Mark Palzolio as the, as also to renew his term.
Yeah, thank you.
I support that.
Thank you very much. And all the members of the Planning Commission that are listed wish to remain on the Planning Commission.
Madam Chair, can we,
Take a vote, though, don't we?
yeah, I think you have a motion and a second on the
Sorry.
ZBA, and then we'll move to the
Okay.
planning commission.
Could I have a motion?
We have a
We have
We have
a
a
motion
motion
and a second.
We have to vote.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The Planning Commission is set, excuse me, the Zoning Board of Appeals is set, and all the people that are on the Planning Commission that wish to remain for another 3-year term, as people are listed. That I have a motion to
I'll make a
retain
motion.
those people.
I'll support.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. And now, I have a special project. Special recognition. Receiving the a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting is our new finance director. It came in at the end of the year and gathered everything together and still came out with this very high achievement award. And at this time, I'd like to present it to her. Kathy, so. Do you want to put that? You hold that. One more. Thanks.
Good job, Kathy.
This is done by the jury of her peers, as far as the state is concerned, and we're very proud to have her achieve this. So now the board will consider a motion to approve the purchase of 2 2016 Chevrolet Silverados from Berger Chevrolet in Grand Rapids for $30,627 each.
Can I make an interruption for a minute?
Sure.
Because the way that this was written out, do we have to do a motion to recognize Kathy, or is it just giving that?
No, I don't think you need a
Okay.
I don't think you need a
Okay.
specific motion.
Okay. Sorry.
No, that's fine, because if, if we'll have it in the minutes that,
Right.
and that she has achieved this distinction, yes. So, for each from account 592-441-970.142, and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related documents. Could I have a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I'll make that motion, but I was wondering if we could combine 9, 10, and 11 all at once. And just, because all the wording is all there.
I think Mr. Guzak's got some comments he wants to make on, about one of those that you'd probably like to do separately, so,
Right.
I mean, we could,
Well-
but
Well, yeah, but we can make the motion, then you can make the comments about them separate. you know?
plus I'd have to use myself from all three that way.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we approve
Item number
Good.
9.
item number 9, as stated.
Number 9 is...
I'll second.
Okay.
Maybe you have one comment.
Yes.
Well, my only comment's real simple, is just because it's coming up further on the agenda item, we're gonna discuss it again. It's actually Berger Chevrolet, not Burger.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's pronounced Berger.
Thank you.
I had a comment.
Yes.
I just want to mention, for the sake of the audience, not hearing the discussion from our Tuesday meeting, but these vehicles are all put out for bid, and the bid process was explained, so it isn't as though we drove to a dealership and picked out a couple of trucks. They're bid with, I don't know, Larry
Oakland
explained,
County,
Oakland County,
bid.
who buys quite a few trucks at one time, and we tie into their bid, so we get the best price possible. And I have, as well as some other people, I think Earl mentioned, that I actually mentioned to Joe Sarah one time in the past year, I said, hey, we'd love to buy these things, and he said, hey, I know we can't even come close to the price, so it'd be nice to shop local, but to save money, we go in with the group on this purchase for these.
As well as many other municipalities throughout the
Right,
state.
which
yes.
people may not realize, and I just want to make sure that they know that the stuff is being bid out.
Now, moving on.
Wait a minute,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, was that Clark or Larry that supported?
No.
Jude made the motion.
I mean,
Larry supported, okay. We didn't vote.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Now we're on to number 10. The board will consider a motion to approve the purchase of a 2016 Chevrolet double cab and chassis from Berger Chevrolet in Grand Rapids for $60,026 and purchase a custom service body from Nathi Truck Equipment of Flint for an amount not to exceed $22,000 for a total purchase price not to exceed $52,026 from account 592-441-970.142 and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related documents.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you. Is there
Discussion.
discussion?
Two things. I think, unless I misunderstood you, I think you misread the first line, the purchase price of the
20.
cab and chassis. I think you said $60,026, it's $30,000.
You're correct there.
Okay, so I want to make sure that what's heard correctly in our audience is $30,000, not a $60,000 truck. And the next item I have is, if anybody's got any credit for that, discuss it. But this is all sent out for bid. There are multiple companies in the state of Michigan that do this type of work. I am employed by Nathi Truck Equipment, and I'd like to excuse myself from voting on this.
Does the board agree that is going to honor Larry's request to
Yeah, we need to
10
vote
and
on that.
stand?
Yeah, 10 and 11, I was going to do it individually, but
All right.
There's
I received no
consensus for that?
compensation, no commission, nothing. I'm not in sales at all, but I want to make it clear that
It looks like by consensus they agree.
By consensus, is there anyone that disagrees? In that case, we have consensus and you are recused.
Then I'd just like to
Now
make
your
a comment.
comment.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you, Madam Chair. Jeff Sears isn't able to be here tonight, so I got a memo from him because I asked about, if we had a van, what would it cost on a van, okay? And of course, he couldn't come up with the exact number because I guess the bidding is stopped on some of the vehicles. But basically, the total cost of the van would be, a one-ton van was $30,000 plus $5,000 to put the equipment in it. And of course, so that's a total of $35,000 compared to $52,000. However, he does mention that they're trying to write the equipment to the person that's doing the job to be the most effective, because it is costing like $17,000 more. However, the vehicles usually run at least 10 years the amount. We've got $180,000 on the existing van now. So I wanted the board to be aware of it, that we're spending an extra $17,000 right now to buy a four-wheel drive double cab with a special box on the back as compared to a van.
Okay. Any other discussion or comments? Yes, Mr. Bennett?
I think, I'm thinking about this, I'm all for saving money. I'm just wondering how well a van, and I don't know, there's probably board members on here that know better than me, but how a van holds up versus a pickup truck. I know I see a lot of plumbers driving vans out there and carpenters, whatever, but I don't know if they're making the number of stops that our guy is, you know, in the course of a day or not, or if they're going into the conditions that we're going into. But, I mean, I rely on Dennis, our township manager, Mr. Lemata rather, and Jeff. Hopefully, you know, they're steering us in the right direction, which I'm sure they are at this point. It's, I think Earl brings up, you know, a valid point, or, you know, I don't know. Truck probably does hold up better than a van, is my only thought. But
I don't think-
we're gonna amortize it over 10 years though, too, so
Right.
there's a cost difference. It's gonna be spread out over 10 years.
I'll let you answer, but I wanted
Yeah,
to see if there was anybody else
absolutely.
first. Is there anyone else that was to make a comment?
Just to comment on that, along the same lines as Mr. Bennett, you heard our DPW director, I'm sure there was a lot of thought put into and he did an explanation on that on Tuesday night. I can't remember all the details that he stated, but there's a lot thought put into that, both by the employees as well as himself as the DPW director. And Mr. Guzek, I do understand what you're saying about the cost as well, but based on the needs and what I believe they're outfitting this truck for the purpose that they need it for, I'm going to vote with the motion.
My only reason for bringing this up is because he's not here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know how much it was,
Yeah.
okay? You know, he did discuss that it's gonna be more efficient, and possibly could save time, because instead of getting in the van, these are the box that's on it, you can actually get the information from outside the box, you can do other stuff, so it's supposed to be more versatile and more geared toward that position. As far as length of the van, not the length of the van, but the amount of use it'll have. The existing van went 180,000, and I'm sure this four-wheel drive would probably go 180,000, but there are more parts to break. But he was stating that he thought it would be more efficient, and maybe we could save time, so that way he could do more with this truck than he could the other truck. I think that was his point. So, but he needed to know, because he said it was close to the same amount of money. Well, it's not close to the same amount of money.
Okay. Are there any more comments or questions? In that case, time to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Now we'll go on to the third truck. Or the fourth truck, I say. The board will consider a motion to approve the purchase of a 2016 Chevrolet cab and chassis from Berger Chevrolet in Grand Rapids for $36,606.20 and pay an amount not to exceed $37,000 to Napai Truck and Equipment of Flint for the upfitting of this truck for a total purchase price not to exceed $73,606.20 from account 592-441-970.142 and authorize the township superintendent to execute all related documents.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just, I know we discussed this on Tuesday, but for the benefit of our audience, I also want to bring this up. That probably about a year and a half ago, we asked the DPW to come up with a vehicle replacement schedule, similar to the police, and they developed a replacement schedule. So the vehicles that we're purchasing here are on a schedule to be replaced. We aren't adding any new vehicles, basically replacing vehicles that are currently in use and coming to their life's end or going on to another purpose. So we're not just willy-nilly buying trucks left and right as we went for the fire department or police or any other department.
The vehicles are an expensive part of each project or each division. Larry, what's involved in the outfitting?
I have to look at the packet. This one is the dump truck. This is a 9-foot steel dump truck, I believe, rigid sides with a tarp, fan belt hydraulic system, which would operate the dump hoist, salt spreader. See if I got this.
Stainless steel.
Yeah, I think it's stainless.
It's stainless steel,
Okay.
yep.
And that's because we had another one that wasn't stainless steel, and we had to replace it, so it's.
Oh, yeah.
Got it up front.
Anything you do in this part of the country with the salt that we have, you want stainless steel, for sure. You'll definitely pay for it if you don't. Yeah, fan belt hydraulic system, it has a snow plow on it, strobe lights. So basically, it's equipped to be a dump truck, to be used in the summer, it can do multiple purposes through the DPW for storm sewer repairs and things of that sort, as well as a snow and ice truck in the wintertime.
I just wanted to make it,
I'll make the motion for item 11.
all right, then.
I'll support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, I just wanted
Should I
to...
reflect 6 to, I
Hmm?
didn't vote, so.
I know, but it's just voice vote, so.
It happened so quick, I didn't change
Yeah,
it.
all right.
Okay. I already got you down as abstaining.
Okay.
All right, the board will consider a motion to accept the first reading of the water and sewer ordinance revision, number 2016-1, which increases water rates and adds mandatory water connection language.
Madam Chair, this is just the water ordinance, so
Oh, okay.
I don't know how we got sewer in there, but we've heard a lot of comments about it, and this is the first reading, so
Yes,
there's more
so we can-
adjustments. Though, what I would suggest, based on what you have in front of you, is let's add the word habitable after any new, so we'll have any new habitable structure
Mhm.
to reflect the comments from our audience.
Mhm.
And then if there are other changes or thoughts, we can take another look at them in December.
Very good.
I will make the motion pending the adjustment in the terminology as discussed by Mr. Laddie.
Support.
Thank you.
Sure.
This is roll call.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, please.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Kent,
Yes.
Dr. Reardon,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Guzik,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoffman,
Yes.
and myself, yes.
Okay. The board will consider a motion to approve payment to the Genesee County Road Commission invoice number 24272 for various catch basin repairs for $12,541.32.
I'll make the motion.
Second, please.
I'll support.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. The board will consider a motion to amend the 2015 general fund budget.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, will you consider roll call votes on
That's
on
what I was
these
just going
items?
to say, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, a roll call vote on the 2015 general fund budget.
Mr. Kent,
I think
Um,
you had a comment.
I think the motion should say per the presentation for the amendments on Tuesday evening, or
You
whatever
wish to-
document we want to cite
You
here
wish to
today.
add that, okay.
Right. I'm good with that.
Did you get that?
well, I do my own.
Okay. All right,
Well, and the printed material that we have too.
Yeah.
Right,
See, if we have a documentation tonight presented to us on Tuesday.
yes.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mr. Kent,
Yes.
Dr. Reardon,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Guzik,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoffman,
Yes,
myself, yes, and Mr. Bennett.
Yes.
motion passes. The board will consider a motion to amend the 2015 special revenue funds budget according to the presentation of the finance director in Tuesday's meeting.
With that same language added in.
Same language, that's what I'm trying to add on to them.
Okay,
I'll make that motion.
And I'll support that as well.
okay. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
myself, yes, Mrs. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Guzik,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson, sorry.
Yes.
Dr. Reardon,
Yes.
Mr. Kent.
Yes.
Madam Chair, on those last two items, we do have, as a part of your packet, you have, these items were addressed in resolutions that were submitted to you and considered and discussed on Tuesday. And I'll make the assumption that those motions were to adopt the resolutions as presented.
Yes. what I thought we had.
Yeah, we can change, we'll just change the
We'll just add that on.
the agenda that says the resolutions. I think that should be stated, so 6 months from now, we'll see resolution instead of just the
Yeah,
word
motion.
act, right?
Yes.
Very good. Oh, okay. And it actually is a good suggestion, maybe we can adopt those resolutions as exhibits to the minutes.
All right.
Right, that would be good.
Yes.
The board will consider a motion to accept the proposed 2016 fire department budget.
Well, we didn't vote on
And
that.
I was
last-
gonna say,
Plus special funds, didn't we?
oh, I'm sorry, I did skip special funds, I'm sorry. The board will consider a motion to amend the 2015 special revenue funds budget.
Well, I'll make that motion, but I thought I already did. I already did that.
We just didn't vote on it.
That's all.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we got a motion and a second. I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll take a
With the amended that it's not the actual reading, it's the amendment
Yeah.
that says we're gonna document the resolution, right? We're gonna accept the resolution.
So I think you did it, first of all, and number
Yeah,
two,
that's what I think.
so I think we're good, but if you're gonna redo it, then might as well, I mean, I think we're good.
We're
I
good.
think we already did it, and we're gonna attach the resolutions as exhibits.
That's what I thought.
So now we're on to fire department budget, I think.
It is good,
Okay.
next one, Mickey up here.
Yeah,
I was mixed
Now I'm
up myself here.
All right. The board will consider the motion to accept the proposed 2016 fire department budget.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
All right, is there any discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chair. Through you to Finance Director. Kathy, if you look in the general fund budget proposed by the fire department, they're showing the millage revenue at $542,875. In our proposed 2016 budget, we're showing the millage revenue at $526,300. So it's about a $16,000 gap from the fire department proposed budget on the millage piece, which is the half a mil that was voted, and then now something's a little bit less than that. So I'm wondering if,
Their estimated revenue and ours.
yeah, so they're estimating about 16,000 higher than what we have in our proposed 2016 budget. Okay? You want to, I can show you that.
Yeah, I guess I have not seen a copy of the fire department budget,
Ah,
but, yeah, my numbers were based upon figures I had received from the assessor.
yeah, and I'm
Property
agreeing that
values,
Yeah.
your
and I'm not
numbers are
sure
most likely right.
where those
And-
numbers came from.
Carl Heiser did this budget based on numbers he was given by the assessor as well.
So,
He didn't make these numbers up, he was given these numbers by the township.
Well, there's
well, maybe,
Was there a rollback?
No, I think realistically what occurred is if it was done, if you guys recall when we did our budget and we have an updated version with the general fund budget, the projections may be slightly different from what Carl received from the assessor. I wasn't aware that those two numbers were not the same. I just assumed that they were the same, and I didn't verify that against there. I think it's a good catch.
well, my quandary then is, they balance their budget, which is what we require, correct? So they're gonna have to do something with that. I mean, I'm all in favor of adopting the fire department less the difference. I'm going to assume that the numbers that Kathy's sharing with us is the correct revenue number. I guess I don't know, how to
I would be
handle
more than
this.
willing to verify that again with the
Do they
assessor.
need this passed today, or
can we wait till?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
We
I
can
thought.
pass it at the end of the month.
what's that?
We can pass it at the end of the month,
Yeah,
in
why don't we
November.
do
Well, there's no end of the month meeting.
You don't have one.
Oh, it's Thanksgiving. That's
But
right.
you can do it at the first meeting.
First week of December.
We're gonna
first
hold
meeting.
the public hearing and adoption of all the other budgets, general fund,
Yes.
DPW and everything else in the first meetings in December. And you can do the exact same thing with the fire budget. I think that the fire commission probably is more to make sure that, are there any changes? This is coming for the board for the first time.
Yeah.
If there were gonna be some questions or changes, it gives the time to send it back to the commission again if there was a
I would
question.
move the table then, we already have a motion on the.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Well, and I just have a question myself. Does the fire department budget I'm assuming this is just contractual raises that are, I don't know if anybody has a raise in here. because I don't have last year's budget to compare anything to. So is this, Larry, I'll just ask you.
Okay. Show me the line in there.
I'm just wondering for, you know, if, but other than contractual raises for the union people, are there any raises for any non-union people? And I don't know if there's,
At this time, there are no raises for non-union people in the fire department.
Okay.
In fact, we may have one.
okay, that's what.
Do we have a motion to take,
Scott withdrew his
I
motion.
withdrew my motion,
Oh, all
so.
right.
And Clark motion to
I'm going to make a
table.
motion to table until the first meeting in December for the adoption of fire department budget.
One thing that possibly you could add is that we could have last year's, because we asked for last year, at least have 2 years comparison. Maybe by then we can have both of them there, so we could prove, this year and last year.
You don't have to approve last year, you just want to see the numbers.
Yeah, it's a comparison.
Right here.
It's the only way we can approve it, because we're looking at the changes like what we're looking for.
all right.
I've got a general question
Yes.
with regard to a budget. Where would I find anything with regard to McFarland Library? Do we set aside any money for repairs
Yes,
of
we
the
do.
building?
Mhm.
For their budget, you mean?
Well, for capital improvements, because I know that their roof and the carpeting and a few other things eventually are going to need to be replaced pretty soon.
I haven't been on the board before.
Yeah.
They have their own budget, right? We have a line item where we just appropriate, and then their budget's within that. I mean, we could get a copy of that, just like the fire department did with us. There's a line item, it's small for capital improvement, it's not much. The whole budget to them isn't very much money. In fact, I could get that. for you.
But
There
that
are,
building,
yeah.
but when I was
Yeah,
at the grand opening or whatever, of
Yeah.
their new addition, people were commenting, boy, the
Yeah.
carpeting was really looking
It
bad
is,
here.
yeah.
And somebody else mentioned that the roof is going to need replacing. And I asked the library
Yeah.
executive director, David, and said, David Conklin, hey, whose responsibility is the roof and the carpeting?
It's ours.
He says, that's yours.
It's
And,
township and city.
so-
and city. I want to have a comment
Right.
based on that.
Mhm.
I want
Is it
to-
an 80-20? 60-40?
No?
Keep
going.
99-1?
No, I think-
I thought it was in the city, the building's in the city.
It is, we both own it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we own it 50/50, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
I think Larry's got a comment.
yes.
And the comment I'll make on that is, yes, the McFarland Library Fund has its own budget, and we got to
Right.
allocate a certain amount of money to that, so we expect the library board to
Mhm.
manage that. And what I want to be careful on is, I think of my wording here. Giving them more money, just throwing it in the budget, I don't know that I agree with that. For example, and I'm not trying to put one group against another, or pit one against another, it's like we've had to borrow money from the Parks and Rec Commission to pay for some capital improvements to the parks, and the
Mhm.
logic of the entire board was, this is a loan, you have to pay it back.
Mhm.
Parks and Rec Bicentennial Park, which is entirely owned by the township, is 40 years old now.
Mhm.
That pavilion, the roof literally has holes in it, you can see daylight through it. The concrete's buckled. The tennis courts are completely shut down and roped off because they're unsafe to use. We're looking at ways within the Parks and Rec Commission to raise money internally to fund some of this stuff. And I want to be careful about giving money to the library board and all of a sudden having Parks and Rec Commission in here saying, hey, you own us too, what about our share?
I like that comment. I just throw that out there, but could we use CDBG money?
Yeah, we tried.
We tried to do that?
We tried, both the city and the township tried to put that under, we thought, oh, if we can combine, both, it would work, but no, they turned it down.
Could we use some of that for the parks though? Because that,
No, we can only, the only thing we can do with the parks is for,
New construction, right?
well, not really.
Not even that?
Not even that, no, it has to be like the senior center or, things that are
ADA compliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ADA,
And I do think that on the library, that we did put the new ramps and a new entrance in, which was by CDC.
Yeah, we did use that for the doorway,
Doorway and the ramps, automatic
Yeah,
doors, and the
yeah.
ramps and the rails.
Mhm.
That was through grant money.
Yeah,
but
that was through grant
because of
money.
the handicap.
Okay, so if we were to build a ramp to the pavilion, could we then repair that pavilion if we made improvements for handicap?
No, that's where I got in trouble this time, okay, because it was ADA, no, it has to.
Okay, I'm just,
They are very, very strict on that, okay? It's only for those that fall into the A.
well, but that's what I'm saying, if we're gonna make it handicap accessible,
Mhm.
and we were to put some ramps up,
Mhm.
then I would think that that would be all part of the project.
No, they would do the ramps, but that's it.
Okay.
My only point, Madam Chair, with the library, and I understand,
Yeah.
I'm not here as a lobbyist for the library
No.
versus the parks or anything, but, I mean, we're the fiduciary for both
Right.
parks and
Right.
the library.
It
And
is.
I don't want to see them fall into disrepair and then
No.
people looking at us, hey, how come we
Right.
didn't plan better?
Mhm.
So just like we set aside money for our own capital
Mhm.
improvements on the buildings we
Right.
directly
Mhm.
use, if if the pavilion needs a new roof, then we need to be getting with the Parks Commission and saying,
Right.
hey, what are we doing? Same with the library,
Mhm.
because it falls back on us
Yeah.
ultimately.
Mhm.
So whether it's helping them to raise funds, I know we talked about some ideas of trying to put some,
We even
Thank you.
tried to say, well, the computer room, the business room, there's a lot of
Right.
people that use that don't have computers at home, that can't afford computers, that they use it, so wouldn't that qualify?
right. But maybe we just need to look at what are our mechanisms for
Mhm.
raising money for the library and,
You know what's interesting, we remember a couple years ago, we got a pretty sizable donation from a family that used the McFarland Library. And it took us a while to negotiate the distinction between the Genesee District Library and McFarland. McFarland got a nice
Yes.
amount of money from that. And what came out of that was we set up an account, and the account's with the city, but it's folks that want to make a donation, it's tax deductible, can make a donation specifically to the McFarland Library. If they contact the city, that's an account it's a township city account, but they hold it in their building. And so it's available, and they have done some fundraising efforts for it. I don't know how successful they are, but it's out there for anybody that is inclined to donate specifically to the building structure of the McFarland Library. And that money stays in Grand Blanc. It doesn't go out to the Genesee
Right.
District Library.
okay.
Good point.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to, I agree we should keep the library in good repair. I think that's important.
It is important. It's one of the first things that people judge, when they come, move here and so forth. It's one of the first buildings that they judge.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so Clark had said a motion to table this.
That's right.
Does somebody need to support that?
Yes.
Support.
Thank you. And tabling motion?
It's just a regular vote.
Regular vote, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? This is tabled till the first meeting in December.
Okay.
And now, we will consider approving the schedule of township board meetings for 2016. Is there anybody that has any problem with the meetings as scheduled?
Make your case.
All in favor?
I would still like to, maybe in the summer, drop the second meeting of the month, for May, June, July, August,
Maybe the third meeting.
or the third meeting, I'm sorry. And we can always have a special meeting if we need it, but that's what I'm thinking.
Well, I've been here 3 years, and there was only one time we canceled a meeting for lack of stuff, because even though it sounds good, and I would love to agree with you, we always seem to fill that meeting now. But I am willing to also support you if you want to take up the summer meetings.
I'll make my comment, and here's why.
No.
Here's my comment. Been on this board going on 7 years now, And I found that it's a lot easier and transparent, especially with the public residents, if we post a schedule for the year, and they know what's coming up. And in the event that there is nothing on the agenda, nothing to discuss, it's a lot easier to cancel a meeting than it is to
Get people
post
back
an
at
additional
you.
meeting and then try to communicate to the
That's
community
true.
that you've added a meeting. So I'd rather keep them all there and have to tell them, sorry, we're gonna cancel.
I'm thinking of Mr. Hurt. I'm trying to help you.
You have nothing to do.
Thank goodness I'm retired.
But I would still like that period.
So was there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
No,
The
Not
schedule.
not yet,
I'll
no.
make a motion that we approve the schedule of township board meetings for the calendar year 2016.
Support.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Is there any other business that needs to come before the
Did
board?
somebody want to make a comment on that article that was in the paper? Or not?
Yes.
Oh, I think are you referring to there was a comment written by a resident to the Grand Lake View about the discussion of the sewer bills?
Making a new ordinance so that,
Yeah.
yeah.
We don't, we do not have currently on the table an ordinance that would consider a different rate for different users. And I think the resident was talking about one that would identify senior citizens and that they would be eligible for a lower sewer user fee. And however nice that sounds, we haven't ever considered an ordinance like that. And I say like that because we haven't ever made a distinction between those who use our services or benefit from our tax money, whether they be of a certain age or a certain social disposition or whatever other category you can imagine for folks in our community. And I know that some communities have endeavored to do that, and we haven't done that because, again, we've taken a position that our utilities cost the same for everybody, and what that cost is it reflects as closely as possible the amount of resources it takes to generate that utility. In other words, these are not profit-making endeavors.
That's the whole thing, the law says you
Right.
can't make money on the,
Right.
in that department.
These are closed funds. In other words, if you had your ratio off and you accumulated money, you'd have to just readjust the cost to, so that you can find, again, a straight line, so you wouldn't make money or lose money. And we, again, we've never endeavored to try to favor one taxpayer or user over another. And that's not currently on the table. When you look at the article, depending on, and it's not an article, it's a comment from
It's
a resident, it wasn't written by a reporter at the View. It sort of leads you to believe that this is in the works and there's a possibility. It's not something we've ever considered, and it's certainly not on the table at this point.
But I would like to suggest this if it's possible, and I don't even know if it's feasible, to possibly set aside some CDGB funds for very low income, because this would only affect very low income people that could not afford this bill. And truthfully, a lot of seniors have a lot more money than the younger kids who are paying off $100,000 of college loans and stuff. And I think it'd be wrong to have the younger people supplement the older people who already are, for the most part, pretty okay around here. But there might be the one or two that it's a horrible struggle for. So it would be, but they would have, to get CDGB money anyway, they have to be very, very low income.
Well, and our DPW department does work with people to try and arrange ways that they can work things out, so,
Okay, that's good.
yes.
I have a question while we're talking about water and budget and what have you, but, and it's probably more of a question that I'd just like to throw out that maybe in a future meeting we could answer, unless somebody has it on the tip of their tongue, but just wondering how I know we don't refer to them as tap-in fees for business, but what do we call them?
Capital fees.
Capital fees. How do those compare to surrounding communities?
I have that on the tip of my tongue. I have the flat sewer rates,
No, I'm talking about for commercial entities, I'm looking
No,
at.
that's it.
Would that be the rate that,
No, that's the unit, that's the commodity rate. The capital fee is what we used to call a cap-in fee. And it's the amount that is allocated to pay for the existing system and to pay for future improvements, future capital improvements to the system. And Clerk Reardon, I think what you have there are the recurring, you have the readiness to serve charge rates, and then you also have the commodity rates. So it's slightly different than what Mr. Bennett is referring to.
Okay.
And that's interesting because I don't have it on the tip of my tongue, but I know that we periodically, less more so now than we used to, have compared our fees, our capital fees to other communities. We've done, and not many other communities have done this, have had to prove at least 2 different occasions in the courts that our capital fees actually reflect the cost of our projected system. And so, and I don't know of anyone else, there's maybe 2 other communities in Genesee County that have had to do that. And both times we've come out with a well-justified capital fee. But it always, when we used to have to examine it when we were growing quickly, and then we examined it when we were not growing at all. And I think maybe now's a good time to have our DPW department give us an update to see whether, first of all, we're consistent with other communities in the county, but also if our system has changed its
Scope.
direction, yeah, its scope. Because we just heard 2 days ago, Director Sears said, we have a lot of things, part of our system is at capacity in a certain area of the township. If the Genesis project goes, and the Dordt Highway Extension goes, that's going to change the complexion of our system. And maybe now is a really good time for them to take a double check on it to make sure it's sized appropriately.
Megan is doing a comparison right now, she's just not finished with it.
Oh.
to other communities?
Mhm.
The reason why I ask is with all the discussion that the chamber's having with, hey, we need this business here, whatever, the topics come up, well, we're too expensive of a place to move. But it's my contention that there's a lot of surrounding areas that are much more costly than ours. I don't know where Fenton is with theirs, but I know, some of the people comparing us to Brighton, Clarkston. I know people that have opened businesses and what their tap-in fees are. They're not any less than ours. If anything, they're a lot more. So I was just curious. It'd be good to see where we stack up on that.
That's
The
Yeah.
first time that I sat down with Rowe Engineering and Dan Potter, our consultant, it's one of the first questions I asked about where are we in relation to other communities around us, because coming in as an outsider, I heard from a few developers that our capital fees are ridiculous, it's pushing development out of the community. These guys assure me that they review it every few years, and that we're not the highest, we're by no means the lowest, but we are, in an average, we may be a little higher than average. But you have to remember what we talked about earlier today, and that these are enterprise funds, these are not for-profit, we're not trying to earn a profit, in fact, we can't. All we can do is pay for the system. So if you don't collect it in capital fees, you're gonna collect it in commodity charge. So it's, there's two ways to look at it, and so when you look at those capital fees, at least if you're coming in and you're starting to develop a business, you can look at what that's gonna cost you and amortize it for however long you wanna amortize it, versus coming in with a little bit lower capital fees, but then paying it on a monthly charge. What happens with monthly charges, unfortunately, is it usually, if you think of big box stores, for example, coming in, if you don't charge them appropriate capital fees, because you do have to size the system to meet the demand for fire flow to that business. So if you do that, and you have to size mains to get in there, but they don't use a lot of water. They've got a few employee restrooms, and that's about it. You'll never make it up on commodity charges, which means you're gonna put that on the backs of the residents who are gonna pick that up. That's one way to look at the synergy between capital fees and commodity charges.
I was gonna make a comment, but you covered it for me, thank you.
Madam Chair, and also to Mr. Bennett, as well, we were presented a couple years back, and maybe it was just before you got on board, from Mr. Potter, and was all the capital fees and where we stood. And I think Keith even was part of that, but where we stood with the surrounding communities in your correct, we weren't the lowest by any means. But as Mr. Laddie stated, we've also been tested, not just in a lower court, but Court of Appeals, and withheld our whole analogy and calculations that go into those fees, so.
Three different judges determined that our
Yeah.
fees were
Yes.
appropriate.
And
I guess my
and
own-
we do offer, the chance to test it out and see,
Well, that's a great point, because we, at Grand Lake Township in
is
Jefferson
the only
County
one I know of.
pioneered the whole RU appeal system, which didn't exist until 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. Now, what that does is that will help you reallocate the number of RUs you need. It doesn't change the fee.
No.
Yeah.
But still, we're always trying to respond and pick the fairest dollar amount that will cover our obligations in the system.
I guess, part of the other reason why I was asking, not only for development, but we see a lot of communities around the state where their infrastructure's failing. And I'm not sure if it was because they didn't charge enough to begin with, or, but I'd much rather see, like we said, a balance
Keep it maintained, yes.
between the RUs, and instead of all of us ratepayers, commodity charge going through the roof, to try and catch back up to where we should have been on the infrastructure. So I'm glad that we're
Right,
maintaining ours.
definitely. Anything else that anybody wants to bring up?
I would, and not to create discussion, because I wouldn't want to in this forum, but Mr. Laddie, did you see Supreme Court Ann Arbor Supreme Court ruling 2 days ago?
I did not.
It'd be interesting for you to read it, and it has some implication for us along a couple of issues that we have going on in Grand Lake. So
Give us a little hint.
it's regarding responsibility of a municipality for flooding.
Oh, yeah.
So
I will take a look at that. And,
Yeah.
maybe I'll give you a little board paragraph of
yeah,
the effects that might have on us.
I heard it on the way to work on Tuesday, I think it was, or Tuesday, must have been Tuesday. So I Googled it just to read the details of it, and it went through Court of Appeals and all the way to Michigan Supreme Court, and they sided with the city of Ann Arbor.
I like the way it starts.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say this about the flat sewer rates, just because I have it with me. This is from October 15th, and it's a list of comparisons. Like, ours are $119 a month just for the sewer.
That's a
That's like
quarter.
a quarter, I'm sorry. That's what you guys pay that have wells and don't have anything else. Fenton Township, they pay $255 a quarter.
$255?
$255. I wouldn't want to be getting that bill. And we're there's others that are by us, but Fenton Township is for sure way ahead of us.
That's nice to know.
Yeah.
Well, I surely want to compete with them.
What?
I certainly don't want to compete with them.
No. Okay, going to the reports then. In regard to some of the comments that have come up lately in regard to our growth and what's going on in the township and the city, I just wanted to, usually this is done at the end of the year, but I just wanted to bring this point to you. As far as new builds that are going on right now or have been completed since the beginning of the year. We have the MTA building, the new bus garage or maintenance building that's going in at the corner of York and Maple. That's, when I say MTA, that's the Michigan Transportation Authority, okay? And then we have a new Taco Bell coming in on Fenton Hill. We have Tranquility at Cook and Holly, that very tall building that's on Cook and Holly that's going to be a very expensive assisted living suite. We have the Security Credit Union that's going in, their headquarters at Saginaw I-75. We have the Dork Federal Credit Union headquarters in the Regency deal behind Culver's. We have Camp Copenhagen building a new storage building. Creative Foam is having a $20,000 square foot expansion.
10,000 square foot.
We have a dental complex coming in at Cook and Holly. We have Genesis Health Park is planning at least 2 buildings, okay, eventually 3. There will be 3 buildings, a rehab building, an assisted living building, and hospice. Okay. Then we have Grand Blanc Processing that was in here for an abatement that's adding the other, and of course we have the Nissan auto dealership. Those are all going on or in process now. We have 111 residences being built. We are ahead of anybody else in the county and have been for the last 3 years. That's not counting the 111 unit single-story condominiums that are going in on Grand Blanc Road. We have had 483 building permits for remodeling or upgrading, and that's excluding sheds and fences. We have 16 new businesses in the township, and we have the new Parks and Recreation Pavilion and the new Parks and Recreation all-access playscape. And we still have a month to go. So we are doing well as far as a community and in our growth and what we're completion. We are attractive to people coming here. We've got to work to keep it that way. Also, I went to the ceremony at the National Veterans Day yesterday at the cemetery. It was a gorgeous cemetery. It was the first time I've seen it where there was standing room only.
Wow.
I mean, it was crowded. The weather was good. The choral group and Grand Blanc High School choir sang, and it was very special with the wreath laying and the honor gun and all the things that were there. It was a very impressive ceremony. I haven't missed since I've been in office, so this was one of the best ones I've seen. And this morning I went to breakfast with a new group that's coming to Grand Blanc or becoming involved with Grand Blanc, and that's called Ellie's Place. It's a place where people work with grieving children, okay, who have lost a member of their family. And it was crowded. It was over 500 people that were there supporting this. And it started in Lansing. And what they do, they take children that are from 3 to 18 and have professional people working with them to overcome or work with grief with the parents and so forth. And it's been very, very effective. It started out as a small group, and now it's over 3,000 people that they have helped so far. And it was very interesting. One of the centerpieces were a mask, okay? And they give these masks to the kids, and they say, all right, on the outside, tell us what you're showing everybody as far as your feelings. And they'll say, okay, I'll be there. I'm doing my work. I'm okay. And then on the inside of the mask, what's your inner feelings? What are you really feeling? And, scared, and, sad, had tears, the little kids had tears and so forth on the inside of their mask. It was very moving, very good presentation. And they have started out, they started out at Beecher School, working with Beecher School, and then now they're going to Southwestern, and I think 2 other schools in Flint, and they're also coming to Grand Blanc schools. So they will work not only with school counselors, but the counselors there will make them aware of people that need counseling. Okay, next, Larry.
Most of the past month, the fire commission was done with the budget, which you guys have all seen here. Couple things that we're working on going into next year's. The fire commission had a vehicle replacement plan. We're kind of revising that for two reasons. The previous plan did not include the light duty trucks, which is the pickup truck and the SUVs the department has. We're going to include that plus all major equipment, any real expensive major equipment that's required to be replaced every so often by state or federal laws. We're also going to create a plan so we can better budget for that. Another good thing with the vehicle plan, and the reason we're revising it, is Chief Dave Cervetter has some different ideas than our previous administration did on how do we equip a fire truck. He's got some ideas on combining what a truck can do, making a pumper/rescue truck in one unit and so forth. So possibly either at least maintaining, even maybe reducing the fleet of fire trucks we have, but still maintaining full coverage and having a long drawn out plan to show, okay, this truck's going to last this many years and appreciate this much. And then we're going to try to determine, much like the DPW did, when is the best time to sell that truck and replace it for our dollar for dollar return. So that stuff will be coming in the next year.
Thank you. Scott?
We didn't have a planning commission meeting this month. However, just a couple of points. With regard to chamber meeting, we mentioned the other day that the two areas that the public, anyways, that was attending that meeting, felt that we need the most attention. One was the appearance of our area, Grand Blanc City and Township. The other one was the variety of businesses for shopping, what have you. Mickey read off the list of businesses that we're attracting to our township, and I think the businesses that we're bringing here are job creators and provide probably some pretty good salaries. And so it impresses me with the businesses that want to come here. I'd like, a greater variety of restaurants, but those aren't huge job producers. These businesses that are coming here are going to be here for the long haul as well. So I think that speaks well to our town. I think we need to do a better job of telling people, what success we do have. And I'm sure our new township manager.
Marketing.
Right, and telling, we put our nose to the grindstone and don't necessarily always tell people all the great things that are happening, but I think we need to do that just to tell people that even live here what's going on, because not everybody is as close to the situation of what's going on as we are. So I think we need to get our own people believing in Grand Blanc Township. So with that, I think we brought up the other day that I think we need to look at either bringing our planner in-house or working with the city on that, something, but bring it closer to home, and then do something on ordinance enforcement as well, which I'm going to keep banging that drum too. So that's all I have.
Okay. Clark?
Board of Zoning Appeals met on Tuesday, November 3rd, on a garage addition. Needed some relief for the side yard setback, and that was approved. And we had one of his neighbors that came in to speak was a World War II vet. He didn't speak actually because he wasn't doing very well, but I mean, I don't mean that bad. I mean, his wife did the speaking, but it was nice to see him there. And Mr. Langley, what was the ship that
He's on the Midway.
Yeah, he was in Battle Midway. Yeah, so it was kind of different. Anyway, so that's all.
Okay. Larry, Parks and Rec?
Nothing major to report on Parks and Rec. Like I said, we're looking at our budget and plan and some upcoming anticipated costs and so forth. So that's in its infancy right now.
When are you going to fix that roof?
Soon, I hope.
Just to update the board, we've been working on the healthcare request for proposals that went out earlier this year from the board. We did have a variety of responses. We pulled in The top four, as determined by committee of myself, Director Zostak, Treasurer Guzak, Sue Saylor, and we also have Megan coming in to record and keep good notes for us. We met today to discuss those four, and in addition to our current provider, we've selected two others to come in to meet with Sue Saylor to provide her some more detailed information and to get some from her. We would anticipate that we will see in December a presentation to the board on where we believe we're at in those healthcare agent requests for proposals. And I'm not saying that we would be making changes, but we certainly have been looking, a lot of the reasons for the RFPs going out had to do with customer service levels in regards especially to the third-party administrator who handles the choice strategies card. And so we're trying to address those concerns, then make a presentation back to the board so that you can make an informed decision on whether we continue with our current strategy or move in another direction. But they're also taking a good hard look at what alternatives are available to us. What about our retiree health care? Does it need changes? And if we want to continue to provide the same level of service. But as we move forward, it's going to be a continuing conversation before we go into negotiations in collective bargaining agreements for the future. If the board wants to make any changes, it would probably behoove us to be ready to make those changes as we enter into those negotiation periods starting at the end of 2016. We did wrap up the budget, as you're aware. I do have about 42 applicants for the administrative assistance position. So I had a great response. If I ever have time, I will actually get through the remainder of those and get...
An assistant would help you with that.
I keep saying I need an assistant to help me get an assistant. But as soon as I can get through those, I expect to have those interviews starting to be scheduled within the next couple of weeks, with the idea that that person would begin to be onboarding at the, no later than the first of the year. We're also still completing our department reviews. I've asked all department heads to revision their departments, let me know what we can do better, what we're getting right. You will start to see some of those changes take in effect. They're all relatively minor, but they're also relatively short-term solutions to some long-term issues that we're going to continue to work on. I look at it every time I walk through the building, I keep telling everybody that I look at it from a customer service level and a workflow level. And I've asked department heads to do the same. When they walk through the door every single day, what are we getting right? What are we getting wrong? Look at the workflow, look at the customer service. And I think if we focus on that, I'd really like our reputation to be, as we transition and maybe make some changes on how our layout is, where departments are, that when people leave here, they say, I'll tell you one thing, I've been in a lot of municipalities, but man, Grand Blanc Township gets it right, and that's our goal.
In that case, Dave?
Nothing to add?
Okay, it's up to you, Jude.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Support.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?